turning complex legal jargon into everyday talk. That's WFTV's Law Talk, sponsored by Community Legal Services.
Hello and welcome to WFTV's Law Talk,
a show where we champion the law and help provide legal access for all.
I'm Christopher Heath, and alongside me, Jeff Harvey, the CEO of Community Legal Services.
Thanks, Chris. I'm glad to co-host Law Talk and help spread awareness of how Community Legal Services is here to help.
So join us as we amplify the voices of those who strive to make justice accessible for all. You're watching Law Talk. Welcome back to Law Talk. Jeff Harvey joins me. I mean, you're the co-host of the show. I can't really say joins me. You're here either way.
We're teaming up.
Yes. So, but I mean, okay. So Jeff, briefly, I mean, what's your background and how did you get involved in Community Legal Services?
So I was born and raised here, and minus a school at BC and a stint in the Army. This is where I call home. I got active in Community Legal Services in part because when I left the military, which is very much a mission-based type organization, I found that in the profession of law, I still kind of had some role to serve the community, and I wanted it to be in a mission-based way. And so when I stumbled across Community Legal Services, it was a perfect fit.
Community Legal Services, in a nutshell, is kind of that bridge between the courthouse and a person who may be standing there saying, I don't quite know how to access this. I don't quite know how to get in here. That you guys provide that.
We do. And so lawyers generally, right, are that bridge. Community Legal Services specifically is that bridge for what I would say is the most at-risk population in Central Florida. It's low-income people that are below or at the poverty level. It's people that are survivors of domestic violence. It's people that are veterans that are still trying to kind of figure out how to make this post-military life work. It's for seniors who are in their later years and trying to enjoy, you know, their grandkids and their retirement and are subject to all kinds of issues that plague them, from creditor predators to just not understanding what they're signing on to.
When we think about the law profession, I think most of us who grew up on like Law and Order, we think of the criminal justice system.
Right. But
the law is everything. Whether you're talking about the criminal side of it, but you want to draft a will, or a loved one's passed away and you're dealing with probate, or you're buying property or starting a business. There are so many parts of the law that the average person might not even know about, but they may need access to.
This is really why we, as an organization, are investing in Law Talk. You know, when you look at our form of government, right, that often forgotten branch, the judicial branch, is really important. It's one of the three branches on the checks and balances side. And integral to that is the lawyer that connects the population with the system. And so if people don't understand what they're doing when they go through the process of dealing with the law, they don't understand the rules that they're subject to, they don't understand the nuances, it really puts them in a situation where they're here trying to use this branch of government to help improve their lives, reach the American dream, and it's actually working against them.
One of the things when we talked about, doing this show, doing Law Talk, and you articulated so well, was we need people to understand that a lawyer is kind of like, going to a mechanic to get your car worked on. Yeah, you could probably work on your car yourself, but a mechanic who has experience is going to be able to do it better and more efficiently. And a lawyer is kind of the same way, and it's so many different parts of life, and hoping to bring that out and explain that.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that this morning. It's a guide on a trail that you've never been on. It's a translator, somebody that can help you understand some of the more complicated concepts and complicated words that we as lawyers take for granted and throw around every day. Absolutely, lots of Latin. Yeah, and it's really, they say attorney and counselor, or attorney and advisor. It's really an advisor and a counselor. It's somebody to help you kind of counsel and coach you through life's biggest moments.
And you say that, life's biggest moments, because sometimes you don't even know you're going to need an attorney or need to reach out to an expert. I mean, I go back to like when my father passed away, all of a sudden I was calling like tax attorneys and friends of mine who had a background in that, because now I needed to try and set some things up for my mom. But it was one of those things, like I hadn't even stopped to think about, well, what happens to the deed on the house? And so I'm making these calls, and that's where you really are reaching out and trying to find that expert advice.
Right, it's all the areas that are connected that you wouldn't even think of, but it's also, the average person's kind of thought when they think of maybe a lawyer and the lawyer that they may need for something, right? It's never quite the magic word that you need. One of the things that we see frequently is people call up and say, I need a family law attorney. Why? Because my father passed away and I have to do probate. Well, that's not a family law attorney. right? And so even in that regard, somebody that can help you use the right language to find the resource that you need is really important.
And you're talking about reaching out to the legal community and getting attorneys to volunteer that expertise they have, that experience, the knowledge that they've built up over the years to give back to the community and say, you know what, yeah, I still have a law practice where I'm making an income, but on my free time, I'm going to find time to help out this person or that person.
Ask any law student why they went to law school, and they'll probably tell you something. 9 out of 10 will probably tell you they wanted to make a difference in the community, they wanted to help somebody, they wanted to make a difference. And you look at the legal community as a whole from, I think, the public's perspective, and what you see is a lot of people that are advertising billboards, they're trying to build their own living. But there's also a lot of attorneys out there that are doing a lot of good. There's a lot of volunteers, there's a lot of people that, even if they're not volunteers, their practice is formed and set up just to try to get to help people in a very specific scenario that we know need help. And so, again, one of the purposes of this show is to really kind of highlight some of that and help the public become more aware of who's out there to help.
All right, Jeff, we'll talk more about this in a little bit. We'll be right back. All right, Jeff, thank you so much for explaining what CLS is doing and some of the great work that Community Legal Services is engaged in right here in Central Florida.
Thanks, Chris. The mission of Community Legal Services is so much greater than this show. If you or someone you know is in need of legal assistance, please do not hesitate to reach out.
And if you have any questions or in need of legal assistance or would like to learn more, reach out to CLS at legalaccessforall.org or visit WFTV.com/legal.
Till next time, thanks for watching WFTV's Law Talk.
WFTV's Law Talk is sponsored by Community Legal Services.